The movie Jesus Revolution. Is this the beginning of a filmmaking revolution? So this is my initial response review of the movie Jesus Revolution. I'm actually filming this off my phone, so it might be a little bit grainy, but it's late at night. I just got back to the movie theater. So I'm going to go through a couple of quick points, things I could pull out of it, then I'll give you my final assessment of this film. First, I'm going to comment on pacing. There's a problem that happens with true life stories, and that's the pacing and the story structure. Typically, they either feel disjointed or they feel they drag on forever. There was this music biopic about the Temptations that I watched probably like 15, 16 years ago. And about halfway in the movie, it's really cool, kind of building up to a certain moment when they finally became this famous music group. And then it just drags on for like an hour and a half. I'm like, wow, this is, depressing and boring. I would say not that way with this movie. I felt like they weaved the different story plots together very well. And actually things that were set up in Act 1, you get a little bit of a payoff Act 2, and then a major payoff going in Act 3. There were things that were hinting towards with the character, let's say in Act 2, that then played out by Act 3, etc., etc. So you saw the introductions build up and then a payoff, and it happened with three different main characters. And they weave together, so what one person said to one impacted the other, that impacted the next one. So from a pacing perspective, I think they nailed it, which is extremely rare for anything that's a true life story. I think they had to do a little bit of finessing with the actual storyline because it actually happens over a long period of time, and they had to kind of, speed certain aspects of the true life story to actually make it to the form of what you get in a feature film. The essence of what they were trying to achieve, it was achieved. The next one, the biggest thing I'm probably going to comment on, is the cinematography. I would consider it a massive upgrade from when John Irwin did I Can Only Imagine. There was a scene where Lonnie Frisbee is first introduced to Chuck Smith in the kind of living room area of the house. It felt like a Robert Zemeckis shot style. What I mean by that is they intentionally blocked things and had camera moves in a certain way, so that all you had to do is put in a certain select insert shots, but a large portion of it was a very well controlled master shot. And it's not this handheld shoulder mount things that's trying to drive me nuts. People don't realize how a lot of shoulder mounted stuff, if you watch the movie theater, it will make some people want to throw up. It's just the way your eyes are trying to find a point of reference to feel like you have a sense of gravity when you're watching something. When it's constantly shaking, it really makes people want to throw up. This was very well controlled, and you could tell every single shot was very well chosen on how to tell the story. So that's one major upgrade. I feel like they at least 5x'd the cinematography at minimum. The next I'm going to comment on is, once again, the cinematography on a different section. What I would term the psychology of the shot. You're picking shots, tell me how to feel with the moment. So it's not just characters delivering a line of dialogue. You're choosing a certain shot or a series of shots to convey things a certain way to make maximum impact. There is a specific shot that was there's a scene where Lonnie is facing Chuck Smith, and Lonnie is explaining something. And the shot is an over-the-shoulder shot from the right side of Chuck. Lonnie says something, and just as he's about to change how to deal with something, the camera shifts over Chuck's head to the left side, and then Lonnie delivers the opposing statement. Says one thing on one here, cross over to give you the new revelation over here of how we need to change things. So it's kind of like the people in your congregation are not reaching the people it needs to. Shift. This is how we need to make the change. That movement is telling us something dramatic is about to happen. A moment of important impact is about to happen with between one side to the other. Once again, that to me gives you another massive upgrade. I'm not sure which director directed that scene, but whoever directed that scene, I want to see more of their work. I mean, not saying I don't want to see the other guys' work, but there was something about that particular shot. I did not see it coming, and it was Spielberg level. Somebody spent some serious time choosing a shot that made a massive impact. So let's do the bad. Some of us have an issue with shallow depth of field. I had the same exact thing when I watched Top Gun Maverick. When 75% of the screen is so out of focus that it's just a blur, it actually affects some of our eyesight for some of us. I had to take my glasses on and off. So, holy cow, my eyes are trying to adjust. I thought it was just me. Found out other people, my brother has the same issue. I had other people who also the same thing. When you see on the small screen, like if I'm watching something on a TV screen, the shallow depth of field doesn't affect me as much. When you see on the big screen, it massively affects my ability to focus because my eyes are constantly trying to refocus. I would seriously request, please, if your aperture is like somewhere like a 4 or a 3, bump it up to a 5, bump it up to 6, do something. Like, give me the ability to finally, give me a little bit of the background and focus. It gives my eyes the ability to focus and feel like I'm in the scene. Sometimes I feel like I'm watching photography. That's just my personal opinion, but there's been a massive trend towards shallow depth of field that I think is actually not good. I would use very shallow depth of field shots selectively, like you would be using exclamation points in a paragraph. Don't throw an exclamation point behind every single sentence. It actually bothers some of us having it that shallow. It drives me nuts. Do I believe that this movie signals a filmmaking revolution? Yep, I do. But here's the concern. This is for all those faith-based filmmakers out there. The cinematography, the storytelling, the acting, the music, the sound design, etc., etc., etc. They went to a whole new level with this movie, Jesus Revolution. But if the majority of films that fit under the label of faith-based are based on a true life story, you're going to milk that concept so much that will turn into the version of the MCU. There is a reason why one movie went way beyond expectations, and the top movie right now dropped by 70% because you can have too much of a good thing can eventually just create fatigue. If you do too many of these based on a true life story films within the faith-based market, eventually people will be like, oh, another one? So I would say take heart the fact that somebody created something with awesome cinematography, great use of the camera shots that brought you in. You felt like you were in the moment, spoke on a non-verbal moment at certain points. Whole package deal was great. Take heart on that, but be very, very careful about milking the concept of using based on a true life story as your main way of speaking within this cinematic space. So you need to vary up your options. You're going to start losing your crowd. My final declaration, this is probably the best movie I've seen since I watched the movie 1917, and that was in 2020. So this is the best movie I've seen since 2020.